Hey, Mythica, we're going live any second now. Who do you want to do a shout out to?
I want to give a shout out to my really awesome wife, Julie.
Julie, here we go. Hey guys, if it weren't for last minute tech issues, I don't know what I would do. We're welcoming our awesome guest today, Mythica. Mythica is an artist and poet and spiritualist from Denver, Colorado. She is immensely talented body painter who's been featured on Skin Wars on Netflix. It's awesome. And in music videos, movies, and nightclubs. She's an advocate for self love and acceptance and a passionate believer in the power of creativity and spirituality. So today we're going to talk with Mythica as she shares her wisdom on spirituality and how to use it to solve everyday issues in everyday life. Hello, Mythica. I'm so excited to talk to you again.
Hi, so nice to meet you. See you again, everyone. Hi, everyone.
There we go. I just have to tell everyone that I was admiring all of your jewelry before you started, and it is amazing, amazing stuff. I will be buying a piece. So we are going to talk about about Mythica. We are going to be talking about um, spirituality in everyday life. So let's just start. So I'll tell people, how did you get involved with spirituality, just so we can start right there.
Well, probably when I was a kid, my parents went to I grew up Catholic and went to you know church just like half a dozen other people. Um, but my experience was not the same as other people's in church. So it started off with things like um, we went to this thing called the absolution of sins, which is like instead of going to the priest and telling them each and everything that you did wrong,
Mm-hmm.
it's where you come up through the center and you say, I'm sorry for the things I did, and then he puts his hands on your head and says a little prayer, and then you go sit back to your seat. And I remember when that happened, I could feel the tingling and the energy. And I was like, Mommy, he really did something. He actually did something.
Mm-hmm.
And in, when at our church anyway, I don't know about other people's churches, we'd say the Our Father and we'd hold hands.
Mm-hmm.
And I would actually feel it flow from the left side through the right side of me like water. Like I could feel that. And I just thought everybody felt that. I didn't know that other people didn't feel that.
Ah.
And then when I was in the second grade, um, I had my second near death experience. I had a fever between 106 and 108 for a week. Both my lungs were filled with fluid, which is called pneumonia. I had bronchitis. And they pretty much told my parents that I was going to be a living vegetable because my brain would be boiling. And um, and so when I woke up, they were like, "It's a miracle," you know. And I didn't know that there was really anything wrong. And I went to some place that I call the in between place, and there was a place in there called the heart of the in between place, and I called it that because I have words for it now. I would call it unconditional love. This great big ball of white light, right? So,
Yes.
and it wasn't going, okay, when you went to Sunday school last week and you drew the old man in the clouds with the white beard and the light blue robe sitting on the gold throne in the clouds, you got it all wrong, kid. Like I didn't get that, right? Um, and you could go anywhere in the in between place. You could either go the long way by traveling, or you could just think yourself to someplace and then you would be there. So,
I like that a lot. I've always had that want or dream to be able. I like people say I want to travel faster than light, and I think I always say I want to travel faster than thought, like as fast as I'm here, I'm there. You
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that what it's like kind of for you, or what you were thinking it would be like?
Um, well, I didn't know as a two as a second grader, I did not know where I was. Do you
Hmm.
understand? Since then, there's been tons of books written by like Dan and Brinkley and Saved by the Light, and there's been movies and all kinds of things. Now it's when it happened to me, nobody ever heard of that before, right?
Hmm.
And then at some point, there was this doctor that started interviewing children that had had near death experiences from all over the world and found they were having the same experience. And I'm like, oh, that was me, you know?
Wow.
So, so my introduction to all of that stuff was at a very early age.
Gotcha. So when did you like start putting spirituality into your life? Because I want to get to how people can use spirituality in their life. So how did you develop the use of spirituality in your own life?
Um, it came from when I went on a retreat. Um, I went on a high school retreat with my church, and um, I was not a good kid when I went into that retreat. um, I was in trouble a lot. I did things like uh, forge my parents' signatures. I was just doing a bunch of stuff shouldn't have been doing,
Hmm.
like shoplifting, like not not doing good. I was doing stupid things, skipping class. Like, let's just suffice
I,
it to say that that was not doing good things.
I hear you. Yeah, I used to forge my parents' signature on my progress reports. It
Hmm.
never worked. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I had I had been grounded for a month at that time. Like there was a bunch of things that were just not in a good space. So I was this kid being like, "Yeah, we're here, whatever," psh, you know.
Hmm.
It's kind of kooky, isn't it? You know, ha, right? And um, this this guy named Gregory gave us a guided visualization, and in the visualization, he's like, "Well, know kids have heard of the Bible before, but like you haven't really experienced it. So I'm gonna get you to see it and taste it and make it more real for you." So he had us close our eyes, and he started describing this marketplace with like what the animals smelled like, what people smelled like, and he's like, "People don't take baths. If they're rich, they might put oils on, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, we're in the desert. The people don't take baths, like."
Right.
And so, but and he started describing the smells of the food in the marketplace and all these sorts of things. And then in the middle of all this really rich description, he's like, and then you see this short, squatty man with a beard on and a little cap, and and he's running in a certain direction. So we're gonna go follow him. And
Uh-huh.
so we kind of followed him, and he's like, "Oh, they're never gonna let me see him." And so this short little squat man shimmies up into this tree, and he's like standing in the middle of it with his hand here and his hand here. And they're like, he's coming, and they're like, uh, they don't say Jesus, but
Uh-huh.
they're describing the prophet that's coming, right?
Right.
Um, and I've never seen this before, but there was like the people were moving like this. So if you've ever been to like a stadium or a big arena
Hmm.
and all the people are coming out at the same time through the big halls,
Yes.
and they're just kind of shuffling together. Have you ever
Hmm.
seen that?
I've been there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you know what I'm talking about then,
Yeah.
right?
Queen concert. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're just like, right? So that was coming down the street, and but as a kid, I had never physically seen that,
Ah,
right? I had
right.
never physically seen that. And and I am just over this. So the tax collector's name is Zacchaeus.
Uh,
So I'm standing over, like floating over his shoulder, and um, I'm like, how the heck are you supposed to figure out which one dude in that entire crowd is him? Like, how are you gonna like? There's everyone's all in the same sort of muted, different colors and very similar ethnicity. So it's like, how the heck are you going to figure this out, right?
right.
And so
Exactly.
the throng is now under the tree, and this one guy looks up, but he doesn't look at Zacchaeus. He looks at me, and like, ha, I see you there. And then Gregory, and in that instant that he looked at me, I felt so many things. You're not alone anymore. You're loved beyond measure. I'm going to be with you for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
Like, that moment stretched on forever. But in real life, Gregory just said this. And Jesus looks up into the tree and says, Zacchaeus, come down out of the tree. That's as
Uh,
long as it was in real life. But what happened inside me was way longer than that. And so then it continued, and then knowingness just flooded me, you know. Um,
so
I
that was your trip journey into spirituality and feeling spirit inside you.
Well, it reconnected me not just with that in that moment, but reconnected me back to my my near death experience.
Gotcha. And so, how do you use this now in your life? Now that you've had that experience, and I know you've had more since then.
Oh
But how
yeah.
do you use the spirituality makes it so prominent for you?
The biggest thing is that and I want to be clear about this. I have had an extraordinary life, right?
Hmm.
I didn't have one near death experience. I didn't have two near death experiences. I had three.
Wow.
So even even after the moment that I told you about at the retreat, I had another near death experience after that,
Is someone trying to tell you something, or is there something else that goes on with these near-death experiences?
right? Um and and so in that essence I have what's called an unfair advantage, right?
Okay.
An experience that's beyond normal experiences, right? Um that that was a spiritual type of thing. But just because that happened to me doesn't mean that the things that I access, people don't have access to unless they've had the experience. The probably the thing that I can, um, so I'll share one more story to answer your question.
Okay.
Um, at some point, this is so I like to say I used to be a Christian fundamentalist until God saved me.
Okay. Um,
I used to carry around like a, a lexicon that tells you everywhere in the Bible where this one word occurs. And I was
mhm.
thinking I was hot shit. And I was like, these guys came into a diner and we're talking about the seventh level of heaven. And I was like, man, let me tell you. And then I was like, did all this. And I was like, I wish I had a bigger challenge than that. Right.
Yes.
Right. Because ego. And So the next week I met this guy who was like, well, yeah, you want to come to my Bible study? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm totally down. I love learning about it. It's like, I want to know it all. So I went to this guy's Bible study, and I'm like, so where's your church at? And he goes, well, it says in the Bible, you shall neither worship in a temple or on a mountain, but you shall worship me in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have a physical church. And I'm like, oh, that's so deep. That's awesome. Wow, that's great. Right. And they're
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, so come to our little, introduction to our group thing, and you watch all these videos. And so we did, and this guy, man, he knew the original, like, Latin and Greek and Hebrew, and he's like, so let me let you in on a little secret. There's no periods, there's no commas, there's no question marks. So in all the original text doesn't
Mm-hmm.
exist. So where you put a comma or where you put a period depends on what a sentence actually is. So he said, listen, where the comma is and where the period is changes the sentence.
Yes.
I tell you today that you'll be in heaven. So one is that I tell you that you're going to die today and you're going to be in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you today you will be in heaven. The other one is a promise that I tell you one day you'll be in heaven, right? So it's like
Right.
I tell you today you will be in heaven,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
it blew my mind, like, what? And then so the third week, I don't know what it was, a still small voice inside me goes, psst, look to your left and look to your right. And everyone's staring up at the TV like this.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, and I looked in the back row and everyone's like, and I was like, oh no, this is not good. This is not good. And at the end of it, I went in, because it was in somebody's house. I went into the bathroom and I shut the door and I locked it. And I was like in this battle, like, oh my God, what's going on? That's so not good. That's so not good. I'm so confused right now. This guy knows, like, the Hebrew and the Latin, and, like, how can I that what's what's going on? And that still small voice, the one that went, look to your left
Mm-hmm.
and to your right, um, was like, what is God, Mythica? And I'm like, love. And how are you feeling right now? Confused? Scared? Well, then. Oh, then that's not God. And all of a sudden, I was peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
So the simplest thing is that, I came out, they were knocking on the bathroom and like, can we pray for you? And I'm like, yeah, your intentions are good. You can pray for me. And then I left, and then I never went back, because it was just like, if you're going to measure anything, it's all based off of love.
Mm-hmm.
So from that moment, moving forward, it was easy. Is this person's intentions coming from a place of love? I can feel that. I can listen to that. I know what that feels like in my body, right? It's true for your food. It's true for friendships. It's true for people who are in sales. It's true from the telemarketer, right? It's true from listening to your show. Baby, you come from love.
Mm-hmm.
You come
Thanks.
from love. Why wouldn't I say yes to this show? I can feel the love. I can feel it in your voice. I see it in your smile. I see it in your eyes, even though they're back behind your glasses there, right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And and so that definitive moment, the one that has to do with the love, right? Um, is where I was freed from the constraints of fundamentalism.
Okay.
Because there are some lines in the Bible that, baby, are not from love.
Mm. There's some stuff in the Bible that conflicts for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
I don't
because,
know what to do about that.
right? But because God is love, I can look at any line and see whether or not it's based in love. And that's the only thing that I need to pay attention to.
Gotcha. So
And
what would you say you are now? I know you're not Christian fundamentalist anymore,
fundamentalist,
right?
no.
What now would you say you are? Are you just free? Are you what is Mythica?
Um, well, I don't think I really have any sort of traditional label. I say different things based on, the audience I'm listening that's listening to me at the time, right?
Uh-huh.
So uh, to one person, I would say I'm from the wing it tradition,
Hmm.
right? I'm just winging this
Right?
stuff. I'm just winging it. Um, uh, 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 a Christian pagan,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Like some people are like, you can't be those two things in the same sentence, and I'm like, well, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, but if someone were to ask me what my religion is,
Mhm.
I would say that my religion is love.
That's a good one. So if you were to tell people who want to actually use this um, spirituality in their life, what is it that you tell them? What is the summation of how do I use spirituality in my life?
One is, um, stop avoiding your feelings.
Hmm.
Two, be present. Be present with yourself. Be present with the people you love. Be present with the present moment, because that this is where everything happens. And be grounded in love. Like, love is really where it's at. And I don't mean in that mamby pamby, oh, free love, right? Because
Hmm.
then you're not, when you're projecting, you're not listening. You're not being present. If you're just doing all of your projections, you're not being present. And you you must be present to win.
Yes.
Okay? You must be present to win. So be be present with yourself, with with life, and when you're clear, then inspiration can come in,
Mm.
right? And inspiration is where you and the divine really get to co-create in a beautiful way,
Okay.
right? So like my poetry, for instance, all my poetry that's on my poetry website, was none of it is edited. If the only editing that was done was maybe spell check,
Okay.
right? So it's just going with whatever the next thing is and you write that down, and going with whatever the next thing is and you write that down. Um, and like if you have a decision to make, okay? If you're in the, oh my God, what do I do? Oh my God, what do I do? Just like me in the bathroom, right? The
Hmm.
answers do not come from that place.
No.
All right. So just know that when you're in that panicky place, you are not in the best place to make any decision. So you got to connect with the love and that peace, right? So, oh, that's right. God is love. Okay. The divine is love. I am love.
Gotcha.
Reconnect with that. You can feel your shoulders come down, feel your chest open with the breathing. And there comes this place where you can just, it's like being in warm sunshine, but
Yeah.
it's on the inside. And then something will rise to the top, an image, a feeling, maybe words, maybe an image of what you're supposed to do. That's inspiration. that's where you and God are in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
You and the divine are in alignment. And then and then that's what you do. Like many of us are like, God, 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 tell me what to do, or like, God, I don't know what to do, right? Even if you don't believe, right?
Right.
You still explain, God, I don't
Right.
know what to do.
It's the explanation. It's the
Right,
explanation that helps, right?
right.
So.
Um, so um, I love movies. So in when Ray and Kylo Ren are battling it out and on the
Mm-hmm.
planet, and they're
Yep.
in the forest, and they're just going at it, right?
Right.
And he's beating her, and she's back on the edge, and he's got his lightsaber, and he's like, "You need a teacher. Let me teach you the ways of the Force." And then Ray remembers, like, she's holding it here, and she remembers, oh, the Force, because the other lady from earlier in the movie told her, she goes, the Force can be your teacher. And
Right.
she's like, oh, so she's all in scared mode, right? And she's losing. She closes her eyes and she just drops in, and you can see the peace come over her face. And then she opens her eyes, and there's this determination, there's this focus. And I'm like, oh, he is in trouble. And she beats him.
And you
Be-
see, I remember that part of the movie, and I love the way that you just brought around spirituality to Star Wars. And it's true though. It's like there's some good stuff in Star Wars and in life, and you just brought it like all together, like in a wow. There's
yeah,
a modern mythology.
she dropped in the middle of battle
Yeah,
and turned the tide. And there's so many uh different movies that show that moment where people drop in.
yeah.
And let's see, Dune also recently had a moment in that where Paul Atreides dropped in and got into that
In the
moment,
flow,
and
right?
and that flow, and you can see it when he just drops in, and then he opens his eyes, and you're like, oh, that dude's in trouble. He's in it now because he's connected.
And so
You
all
know,
people have to do is figure out how to either get their Ren or their Paul Atreides going.
Ray,
That's
yeah.
exactly what they have to do. So,
Oh, so hold on. I have it.
oh, there it is.
So that for you see the top one is where she's in fear,
Yep.
and then you see the middle one is where she drops in, and then look at that determination, like, you are in trouble, boy.
Yes.
My wife and I screenshotted the moment so that we could keep that on the phone.
Those are awesome. Mythica, we are going to have to wrap this up. I love what we were talking about. I am sure I could talk to you for another hour or two or day, and I'm going to do that. I'm definitely going to get in touch with you about. I love the necklace that you have on today. The one that people can see is cool. I love the what's the stone that you have right there?
Ye Ming Zhu.
Yeah, I
So,
need one of those.
yes, so Ye Ming Zhu is a natural stone, and it basically, so we're talking about the force and chi. It 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 gathers light or any energy or chi, and what I love about it is that the stone doesn't lie,
There you go.
right? When you're in that energetic place, in that flow, it glows like it's not just sunlight, so you can see that glow on there.
I love that.
And I sell these, so
Well, I'll have one soon. I'll wear it like on the black right here, glowing, so we can
perfect.
see it. That is nice. Thank you for being on. I want people to be able to get in touch with you,
Sure.
and they are going to do that through neonbuddha.com, which is is that your primary that you want them to come to?
Well, actually, my Instagram would be preferred.
Okay, so we'll get them on your Instagram.
There
I
we go.
am Mythica. I
Yes, I
love that.
am.
Thank you for being on so much. I love talking with you always.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
I
Thank
will
you.
Catch you again in the future. Bye.